If you're so smart, then pay your own bills. My mom's voice sliced through the tiny apartment like broken glass. I was still in my work uniform, grease stains on my shirt, my feet aching from a double shift when she shoved a stack of overdue notices into my hands as if they were my fault for existing. She didn't ask how my day was. She didn't ask if I'd eaten. She just stood there, eyes blazing, like I was the reason her life had fallen apart. I already paid the last two, I muttered, staring at the red numbers, screaming, "Past due." She scoffed. "Then pay the rest. If you're so educated, so independent, so grown up." She leaned in, almost spitting the words. "Prove it. Pay your own bills." Something in me snapped. For years I'd worked, studied, and handed over my paychecks while she played the victim. That night I stopped feeling guilty and started feeling angry. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I walked to my room, grabbed my backpack stuffed in clothes, my laptop, and the one framed photo of me and my dad. My hands were shaking, but my mind had never been clearer. She followed me down the hallway. "Where do you think you're going?" "You told me to pay my own bills," I said quietly. "So I'm going to live my own life." I walked out that night and didn't look back. A month later, my phone lit up with her name. I hesitated, then picked up. "Hannah?" She yelled, breathless and panicked. "Why is the power off? What did you do?" I took a slow breath, feeling the weight of everything I'd planned since the night I left. My response left her speechless, and it was only the beginning. To understand why that phone call felt so satisfying, you need to know how we got there. My name is Hannah Vance. I'm 23. And for as long as I can remember, money, or the lack of it, ruled our home. When my dad walked out years ago, he didn't just leave my mom. He left me too. All he left behind was an old photo, a pile of bills, and a woman who slowly turned her grief into a weapon. My mom, Brenda, used to be warm. She used to laugh. After he left, she hardened. Every unpaid bill, every broken appliance, every failed job interview somehow became my fault. When I got my first part-time job at 17, she took my debit card for safekeeping. "We're a team," she'd say as she used my paycheck to cover rent, cigarettes, and cheap wine. By the time I started college, we meant me. She stopped looking for steady work and started relying on my scholarships, my student loans, my side hustles. If I ever complained, she'd snap. "Do you want us on the street? Your father didn't care about us." At least I stayed. So I stayed too. I worked late, studied later, and handed over whatever money I made. Anytime I tried to set a boundary, she'd twist it. "You think you're better than me because you went to college." Somehow my achievements were insults. The night she told me to pay your own bills, it wasn't just about electricity or rent. It was about years of being treated like an ATM with feelings she refused to acknowledge. I crashed on my friend's couch that night. Maya, the one person who'd watched this mess from the outside. We sat in the dark living room, the glow from a street lamp spilling through the blinds as I replayed the argument in my head. "You finally left," Maya whispered. "You should have done it years ago." "I know," I said, staring at my phone, expecting a barrage of texts that never came. But she still got my name on everything. The lease, the utilities, the internet. If she stops paying, they'll come after me. Maya frowned. "Can't you just remove your name?" That innocent question triggered something. I'd spent years cleaning up her messes, paying her debts, protecting her from consequences. For the first time, I wondered what would happen if I stopped. A few days later, I went back to my old place to grab the rest of my things while she was out. That's when I saw it. A thick envelope on the table with my name on it. Not hers. Mine. "Final notice," it said. I opened it and my stomach dropped. It wasn't just the power bill. It was a credit card I never opened. Thousands of dollars in debt in my name. I stood alone in that silent, suffocating apartment, staring at the proof that this wasn't just a struggling mom leaning on her daughter. This was betrayal. And in that moment, my revenge stopped being an idea and quietly became a plan. I took the envelope and a few others I hadn't noticed before and ran back to Maya's place, my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. We spread the letters across her coffee table like crime scene photos. There it was, again and again. My name, my social security number, my credit score being buried alive under charges I didn't make. Clothing stores I'd never shopped at late-night takeout from places across town, cash advances. She opened credit cards in your name, Maya asked, eyes wide. Hannah, this is identity theft. This is illegal. She's my mom, I whispered. But even as I said it, the words felt weak and pathetic. I remembered all the times she'd waved away letters saying, just junk mail. All the times she'd made me sign routine forms without letting me read them. All the times she'd snapped, you don't trust me if I ask too many questions. I trusted her because she was my mother. I just never realized she was willing to sell my future to keep her present comfortable. Maya placed a gentle hand on my arm. You can't keep covering for her. She's not just using your money anymore. She's using your name. That night, while Maya slept, I sat alone with my laptop, the letters, and a notebook. I pulled my credit report for the first time. Each line felt like a punch. Utility accounts in my name, credit cards, a small loan I certainly never applied for. I started writing everything down. Account numbers, dates, balances. Every time I remembered her saying, sign here or I'll handle it. I screenshotted text messages where she guilt-tripped me into sending more money. I recorded voicemail after voicemail of her yelling, demanding, accusing. It felt wrong at first, like I was betraying her. Then I remembered the stack of red notices and the way she'd screamed, if you're so smart, then pay your own bills. The way she'd never once apologized for dumping her life on top of mine. The next day, Maya dragged me to a free legal aid clinic. I showed the woman at the desk my documents with trembling hands. She looked through them carefully, then met my eyes. Legally, this is serious. She said, you have options. You can dispute these accounts, file a fraud report, even press charges if needed. You don't have to decide today, but you need to protect yourself. Press charges? I echoed, my voice small. Against my own mother. Against the person who stole your identity, she corrected calmly. Biology doesn't excuse criminal behavior. I walked out shaking, but something inside me had shifted. For years, my mom had hidden behind the word family like it was a shield. She thought it made her untouchable. That night, I closed my personal bank account and opened a new one at a different bank. I changed my direct deposit information at work. I called the utility companies and told them to remove me from everything tied to her address. For the electricity, the woman on the phone said, if your name is removed, the remaining account holder will be fully responsible. If the balance goes unpaid, service will be disconnected. Please note that I replied, I won't be making any more payments on that account. Understood? She said. I hung up and stared at my phone for a long time. This wasn't a tantrum. This wasn't me being selfish or ungrateful like she always said. This was me cutting the cord she'd wrapped around my neck for years. Maya watched me from the doorway. How do you feel? She asked. Scared, I admitted. But for the first time, I also feel like I'm not the one about to get burned. I knew the bills would come due soon. The power, the rent, the credit cards. And this time, when everything crashed down, she wouldn't be able to shove the rubble onto me. She wanted me to pay my own bills. Fine. I decided she was finally going to pay hers. Roughly a month after I left, my life was starting to feel mine. I had picked up extra shifts, found a cheap room to rent so I wasn't on Maya's couch forever, and slowly started crawling out from under the debt mountain my mom had built in my name. I'd disputed the fraudulent credit accounts, placed alerts on my file, and kept every single piece of proof against her in a neat, terrifying folder. But there was one thing I hadn't done. I hadn't called her. I saw her missed calls. I read her text messages without responding. Where are you? You can't ignore me forever. So now you think you're too good for your own mother. Each one added another brick to the wall forming between us. Then one evening, as I was folding uniforms on my bed after a shift, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was a call. Her name flashed on the screen. I almost ignored it. Then I remembered the utility call I'd made weeks ago. And curiosity won, I answered. Hannah, she shouted immediately. What did you do? Why is the power off? The whole apartment is dark. My food is spoiling. I can't charge my phone. I can't even see anything. I could almost picture her pacing in the living room, acting like this happened out of nowhere, like bills were some random punishment from the universe. I took a breath and kept my voice calm. Did you pay the electric bill? Don't start with me, she snapped. You always handled it. They said the account holder removed herself, and there's a past due balance. Why would you do that to me? Are you trying to ruin my life? For a second, the old guilt surged inside me. The part of me that wanted to rush over there with my card swipe again, fix it all, apologize for even daring to leave. Then I thought of the envelopes, the fraud, my gutted credit score, her screaming at me with those overdue notices in my face, telling me to pay your own bills. I didn't do anything to you, I said slowly. I just stopped paying for you. Silence. What is that supposed to mean? She demanded. It means the electricity account is now in your name alone, I explained. I removed myself. If you don't pay it, they cut it. That's how it works. I'm not your cosigner. I'm not your guarantor. And I'm not your backup plan anymore. You ungrateful child. She hissed after everything I've sacrificed for you. You're just going to abandon me in the dark. You didn't sacrifice for me, I corrected, my voice shaking but steady. You sacrificed me. You stole my money. You opened credit cards in my name. You wrecked my credit. You made me responsible for your life, and then blamed me every time it wasn't good enough. That's not true. I'm your mother, she screamed as if that word erased every fact. I have copies of everything, I replied quietly. The accounts, the signatures, the statements. I've already started disputing them. I talked to legal aid. This isn't just family drama anymore. She went dead silent. Hannah. She finally whispered, her voice suddenly small. You wouldn't turn on me like that. You wouldn't drag strangers into our business. Our business, I repeated. You turned it into my business when you put everything in my name. Breathing hard, she tried one last weapon. If you tell anyone, I'll make sure the whole family hears how you abandoned me. They'll all know how selfish you are. I almost laughed. Good, I said, because I'm done being the secret you hide your behavior behind. If you want to talk to them, we'll all talk. With proof, the line crackled with her stunned silence. For the first time in my life, I wasn't begging her to calm down. I wasn't apologizing just to end the fight. I was the calm one, and she was the one spiraling. Get used to it, I added quietly. The power going off. That's just the first bill coming due. I ended the call before she could respond, my heart racing, my hands trembling. It felt like jumping off a cliff and realizing midair that you might actually land on your feet. My revenge wasn't setting her on fire. It was refusing to put myself out to keep her warm. But I knew her. She wouldn't go down quietly. And I was right. Because the next time she called, she didn't call just to scream. She called to threaten me. The texts came first. You're destroying me. I raised you alone, and this is how you repay me. If you don't fix this, I'll make sure everyone knows what you did. I ignored them until one message made my stomach twist. I told your Aunt Carol you stole from me. There it was. A familiar pattern. If she couldn't control me, she'd control the narrative about me. Not this time. Aunt Carol called the next day, full of righteous anger. Hannah, how could you take money from your own mother and then walk out on her? She's sitting there in the dark because of you. I let her rant. Then I said calmly, have you seen any of the bills? Any of the accounts? Any proof? Well, no, but I'll bring everything. I cut in. All of it. I'll come over tonight. Invite whoever you want. Mom included. There was a pause. Fine. That evening, I walked into my Aunt Carol's house with my folder tucked under my arm. My mom was already there, sitting on the couch looking small and fragile, wrapped in a sweater like she was the victim in all of this. She didn't look at me. Aunt Carol stood up. Hannah, this has gone far enough. Your mother is ashamed to even share how bad it is. You owe her. I opened the folder and calmly placed a stack of papers on the coffee table. I owe her the truth, I said. Electric bills in my name, credit card statements, the personal loan application with my information, and what was clearly my mother's handwriting pretending to be mine. My credit report page after page. Read the names on the accounts, I said quietly. Aunt Carol picked up a paper, frowning. This is in your name. Every single one, I said, opened, used, and ignored. Not by me. I was in class. I was at work. I didn't even know these existed until I moved out. My mom shot to her feet. You ungrateful snake, she hissed, digging through my private papers, trying to make me look bad. You did that yourself, I said, cutting her off. My voice was shaking, but I didn't stop. You told me to pay my own bills while secretly putting yours in my name. That's not parenting. That's exploitation. Aunt Carol's face went pale as she flipped through more pages. Brenda, is this true? My mom's mask cracked. We're family, she snapped. Kids help their parents. You wouldn't understand. You had a husband who stayed. So you decided your daughter's future was your emergency fund. Aunt Carol shot back, voice trembling with anger now. But not at me. Mom glared at me, voice low and venomous. You went to strangers' lawyers. You think they care about you. When they're done, they'll leave. But I'm your blood, and blood doesn't give you the right to bleed me dry, I replied. I reached into the folder one more time and pulled out the final document. A printed email thread. These are my disputes with the credit agencies, I said. And this is the fraud report I filed. I listed the accounts opened without my consent and the person who opened them. Aunt Carol read, eyes widening. You named her. I had to, I said quietly. If I didn't, I'd be responsible for debts I didn't create. I'd carry this for the next 10, 20 years. All while she keeps screaming at me to grow up while refusing to grow up herself. My mom lunged for the papers, but Aunt Carol stepped between us. Enough, she said sharply. You lied to us, Brenda. You told us she abandoned you, that she stole from you. She did, my mom insisted. She stole my chance at a better life. No, I interrupted. Dad walking out took that. Your choices after that are on you. The doorbell rang. Aunt Carol frowned. Who else is coming? I asked the landlord, Mr. Henderson, to stop by. I said, my heart hammering. He's been trying to reach me about the lease. Mr. Henderson stepped in. Awkward, but firm. Evening. I won't stay long. I just needed to confirm. Hannah, you're officially removed from the lease as of next month. I've processed the change. From then on, the unit will be solely under Brenda's name. But he glanced at my mom. If the outstanding balance isn't paid by the end of the notice period, we'll have to proceed with eviction. My mom's face drained of color. Eviction. You've received multiple notices, he said, not unkindly. I'm sorry, but we can't keep a tenant who doesn't pay, and whose cosigner has legally withdrawn. Mom turned to me, horror and fury swirling in her eyes. You did this. You're throwing me out of my own home. I swallowed hard. No, I just stopped letting you use my name as a shield. Whatever happens next, that's between you and the bills you told me to stop paying. The room felt electric with tension. You're going to regret this, she whispered. Do you hear me, Hannah? One day you'll need me, and I'll remember this. I thought of my wrecked credit, my years of stress, the nights I cried over numbers in red while she slept on the couch with the TV on. I already regret not doing it sooner, I answered. And for the first time, when she stormed out of a room, I didn't follow. But the consequences of that night came faster and hit harder than even I expected. The days that followed felt surreal. Aunt Carol stopped defending my mom. Instead, she started calling me, asking how to fix things, how to help. Word spread through the family, but this time, not because my mom twisted the story first. They saw the documents. They heard Mr. Henderson. They realized I hadn't abandoned her. I had escaped. My mom, on the other hand, doubled down. She spammed my phone with messages swinging wildly between pity and rage. How could you humiliate me like that? Everyone thinks I'm a monster because of you. I did what I had to do to keep us alive. If you don't fix this, I'm done with you. Then when I didn't respond, you were always a mistake anyway. I blocked her number. It felt brutal and necessary. At work, I started picking up more hours. I met with a counselor at school who helped me understand that what I'd experienced wasn't tough love or normal struggling single mom stuff. It was abuse, financial, emotional, psychological. I keep feeling guilty, I admitted in one session, like I'm the villain in my own story. That's because your role was reversed for years, she said gently. You were the parent. Now that you're refusing to play that role, she's punishing you for it. That doesn't make you the villain. It makes you someone who finally stopped enabling. Meanwhile, the legal and financial pieces started to shift. Some of the fraudulent accounts were frozen. Investigations were opened. My credit stopped free falling. It wasn't fixed yet, but there was a path. A few weeks later, Aunt Carol called. They posted a notice on her door. She said quietly, "Eviction. She has 30 days." I closed my eyes. I had imagined this moment, fantasized about it when she screamed that I owed her everything. But hearing it out loud hurt. "She's telling everyone you set this up to destroy her," Aunt Carol went on. "But honestly, most of us know she did this to herself. Some still pity her. Others are just tired." "Are you?" I asked. "I'm tired of watching her chew you up and spit you out," Aunt Carol replied. "I'm proud of you, Hannah, even if it's messy." I hung up and sat in my tiny rented room staring at the wall. This wasn't a movie revenge scene with dramatic music and slow-mo flames. It was quieter, more complicated. My chest ached, but beneath the ache was something else. Relief. A week before the eviction date, there was a knock at my door. I opened it to find my mom standing there. She looked smaller. The sharpness in her eyes was dulled by exhaustion. There were dark circles under them, and her hair was pulled back in a messy, defeated knot. "You blocked my number," she said. "So I had to come in person." My pulse quickened, but I didn't invite her in. I stood in the doorway, one hand on the frame, creating a line she'd never been forced to respect before. "What do you want?" I asked. She laughed bitterly. "What do I want? I want my life back, Hannah. I want my daughter back. I want electricity and a roof and some dignity. But apparently you decided to take all that with you. You had all of that before you decided to use me like a credit card," I replied. She flinched. "I made mistakes. I panicked. I didn't know how to survive after your father left. Every month was another fire I had to put out. I grabbed whatever I could to keep us afloat." "You grabbed me," I said. "You grabbed my future. I did it for us," she snapped, voice rising. "I thought you'd understand when you were older. I thought you'd be grateful someday." "Grateful?" I repeated, stunned. "For being in debt before I even started my life. For having to rebuild my credit because you didn't want to face your own. For being screamed at every time I couldn't fix a mess I didn't make." Her jaw clenched. "Fine. Hate me. Let me be the villain. But know this. When they put my stuff on the curb and everyone whispers, they'll remember your name too. They'll say, 'That's the daughter who let it happen.'" I took a breath, my hands shaking. "I didn't let it happen," I said. "I stopped letting you happen to me." She stared at me for a long moment, waiting for me to crack, to apologize, to rush in with a solution. "I didn't. I'm not coming to fix this," I added. "I'm not paying your rent. I'm not putting the lights back on. If you want help, you can go to the same legal clinic I went to. You can talk to a counselor. You can get a job that isn't just borrowing from people who love you, but I will not be your crutch anymore." Tears filled her eyes, spilling over. For a second, I saw the mother she used to be, the one who held me when I was sick and braided my hair before school. Then she turned away. "You'll regret this," she whispered and walked down the hall. I watched her leave and realized something. She'd been saying that my whole life. This time, I didn't believe her. But our story wasn't over yet, because the day they actually came to clear out the apartment, she called me one last time, and this time, I picked up. The eviction day fell on a gray, heavy morning. I knew the date, but I hadn't planned on going anywhere near that building. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something in my gut told me to answer. "Hello, Hannah." It was my mom's voice, but weaker, like the fight had been drained out of it. "It's me. I'm using the neighbor's phone. They're here." I pictured the scene without needing to see it. Movers, a sheriff, maybe Mr. Henderson, boxes on the sidewalk. Neighbors peeking out through blinds, pretending not to stare. I stayed silent. "They're putting my things on the curb," she continued. Our couch, your old dresser, the kitchen table, everything. They were her things now, not ours that mattered. I just thought, she said, a bitter laugh in her voice. You might want to see the result of your big smart girl decisions. I closed my eyes. You mean the result of your own silence stretched between us. Are you happy now? She finally asked. You got your revenge. The power's off. The bills are in my name. I'm losing the apartment. You win. I thought about that for a long moment. This was never about winning, I said. It was about surviving. I didn't burn your life down, Mom. I just stopped holding up the parts you refused to touch. You could have helped, she whispered. You could have fixed it. I did help, I replied. For years, with money, with time, with my mental health. You never called that help. You called it what you owe me. The moment I asked for balance, you called me selfish. The moment I left, you called me ungrateful. The moment I protected myself, you called it revenge. Isn't it? She pushed. Admit it. You liked hearing the panic in my voice when the power went out. I swallowed. Yeah, I said honestly. Part of me did. Part of me needed you to feel even a fraction of the fear I felt every time you slammed another bill on the table and told me to fix it. But the difference is, when the lights went out for you, you still had options. You're an adult. You can work. You can get help. When the lights went out for me, I was a kid, and you were the one flipping the switch. She didn't answer. Where will you go? I asked quietly. I don't know, she muttered. Your Aunt Carol offered to let me stay for a while, but she made it clear she's not paying my debts. Everyone suddenly grew a backbone after your little presentation. She spat the word like poison. They look at me differently now. That's not my fault either, I said. That's what truth does. I heard muffled voices in the background. Someone saying, Ma'am, we need you to sign this. Her ragged breathing. Why are you really calling me? I asked. There was a long pause. Because I wanted to ask. Her voice broke. Is there any part of you that still loves me? The question punched through every shield I'd built. I leaned against the wall, tears pricking my eyes. I thought about bedtime stories, scraped knees, and birthday cakes. I thought about slammed doors, screaming matches, and the first time she put a bill in my hands and called it our responsibility. I do love you, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. That's what makes all of this so painful. If I didn't love you, walking away would have been easy. Then why? She sobbed. Did you let it get this far? Because loving you doesn't mean letting you destroy me, I replied, and it doesn't mean erasing what you did. This, I gestured, even though she couldn't see me. This is what your choices cost, not my boundaries. Your choices. She sniffled, composing herself. So that's it. You're just done with me. No, I said. I'm done being your unpaid therapist, your wallet, your scapegoat, your shield. If you ever decide to get real help, to go to therapy, to actually work on yourself, to pay back even a piece of what you took, I'll listen. But until then, the only thing I'm giving you is space. Silence fell again, heavier than before. I told you once. She said quietly that you'd regret this someday. Maybe, I answered. But I already regret the years I lost trying to save you from consequences you chose for yourself. I'm not losing anymore. In the background, I heard Mr. Henderson's voice. Ma'am, we really need to finish up. I have to go, she whispered. Goodbye, Mom, I said. The word felt strange and familiar at the same time. I hope one day you pay your bills and your debts to the people who loved you. She didn't respond, but I heard her breathing hitch. Then the line went dead. I stood alone in my tiny room, phone still in my hand, feeling both hollow and strangely light. Somewhere across town, the apartment I grew up in was being emptied. The power off. The door soon to be locked behind strangers. She once screamed at me, "If you're so smart, then pay your own bills." In the end, that's exactly what I did. I paid my own. And for the first time in her life, she was forced to pay hers. There is a particular kind of heartbreak in having to parent your own parent. Hannah's story isn't just about financial fraud or eviction notices. It's about the crushing weight of parentification, where a child is forced to sacrifice their youth to become the adult in the room. Brenda didn't just steal Hannah's identity on paper, she stole her sense of safety. She weaponized the biological bond of mother and daughter to justify theft manipulation and emotional abuse. When she screamed, "Pay your own bills," she didn't realize she was handing Hannah the very permission she needed to leave. She was daring her daughter to be independent, never suspecting that independence would be the thing that finally exposed her. The hardest part of Hannah's journey wasn't the legal battle or the credit disputes. It was the guilt. We are conditioned to believe that we owe our parents everything, that our gratitude for life should translate into eternal servitude. But Hannah teaches us a vital lesson. You cannot save someone who refuses to participate in their own rescue. You cannot keep someone warm by setting yourself on fire. When Hannah refused to pay the electric bill, she wasn't leaving her mother in the dark. She was forcing her mother to finally face the reality she had been avoiding for decades. It was an act of tough love in its purest, most painful form. For anyone watching who feels like they are the crutch, for a family member who feels guilty for wanting to keep their own money, their own peace, or their own name, let this be your validation. You are allowed to cut the cord. You are allowed to protect your future from the wreckage of someone else's past. It's okay to love them from a distance. It's okay to say goodbye even when your voice shakes. Because sometimes the only way to stop the drowning is to let go of the anchor. If Hannah's story touched a nerve, if you've ever had to make the impossible choice between your family and your sanity, please share your thoughts in the comments. Your story matters, and sharing it might just give someone else the courage to pay their own bills and finally live their own life. Until next time, take care of yourself first.